There's a specific kind of frustration that only certain people really understand. You're in the middle of saying something that actually matters, standing up for yourself, or finally telling someone how you feel, and your throat tightens, your voice cracks, and the tears come before you've even decided to feel anything. And here's the strange part. The reason this happens to you has almost nothing to do with being emotional. It's not weakness, and it's not being too sensitive. It's a specific mechanism most people never develop, and once you see it, you'll never be embarrassed by it the same way again. Because the worst part was never the crying itself. It's that you know exactly what you want to say, but the words won't come out without breaking, so the point you were trying to make just dissolves. And a few seconds later, you're not even upset anymore. You're angry that you're crying, and then you cry harder because you're angry. If you've ever been there, stay with me. Because what you've been calling a flaw your whole life is running quietly in the background of your nervous system. And today, cognitive psychology is going to break it all the way down. Start with a fact almost nobody stops to think about. Out of every species on this planet, humans are the only one that sheds emotional tears. Animals tear up to protect their eyes. Only we cry from feeling. Nature didn't leave that in by accident. So when the tears come easily for you, your system isn't malfunctioning. It's doing something it was specifically built to do. The question is why yours does it faster than everyone else's. Psychologists have a name for the wiring behind it. Dr. Elaine Aron called it the highly sensitive person. And the research suggests it applies to somewhere around 15 to 20% of people. Their nervous systems process emotional and sensory information more deeply than average. So a moment that barely registers for one person lands fully, and physically, for another. You don't feel more feelings than other people. You feel them deeper, and for longer. That one difference explains almost everything that comes next. And here's the first thing it explains, the one that drives easy criers crazy. Sometimes you cry when you don't even feel that bad. The situation isn't serious. You genuinely don't care that much, and still the tears roll down your face and you can't stop them. Here's what's happening. When your emotional center, the amygdala, floods faster than your thinking brain can find words, the pressure has to go somewhere. Psychologists sometimes describe it as the system discharging energy it couldn't process in time. That's why it hits when you're angry too. You ever cry when you're angry and have no idea what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with you. Those aren't sadness tears. That's an overflow valve, a sign of how intensely you're invested, not how weak you are. But that's just your own emotions. The second layer is quieter, and it costs more. You don't only cry for yourself, you cry for other people. Someone across the table struggles to hold it together, and your eyes fill before you've decided anything. Brain imaging has shown stronger activity in the empathy-linked regions of people wired this way. It's called empathic resonance. Your brain doesn't just understand someone's pain, it simulates it in your own body. That's why you cry when someone else cries, even when you don't know what they're crying about. You feel it as if it's yours. Which means every emotional room you walk into, you're absorbing everyone's weather, not just your own. And it's why you can leave a gathering everyone else found fun and feel completely drained. And that's the thing worth realizing about yourself here. You're not slow, and you're not too much. You're reading the room at a resolution most people never operate on. The tension under someone's voice, the smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the moment the energy in a room shifts before anyone else notices. You feel what other people miss entirely. That's not a malfunction. That's a kind of radar most people would give anything to have. Now the third layer, the price nobody warns you about. Most people feel something, and it fades by the next day. For you, it doesn't work like that. You replay the conversation on the drive home. You lie awake seeing the look on someone's face. You go over it, and honestly it wipes you out. Tired, foggy, like one moment hijacked your whole day. Psychologists call it emotional rumination. And in sensitive people, it's less a choice than a reflex. The signal just lingers. Which is exactly why you often arrive at truths about people that everyone who moved on quickly completely missed. And then there's the fourth layer, the one that actually hurts the most, and it isn't the crying at all. It's how people start treating you because of it. A lot of easy criers say the thing they hate most is that people begin to handle them like they're fragile, like you might break. You try to have a serious conversation, and the second your voice shakes, they stop taking you seriously. They soften. They change the subject. They console you instead of hearing you, and you're left feeling small. I think about a comment someone left once. A boy, sitting quietly in a math class he was struggling in, suddenly slapped by his teacher in front of everyone, and when he stood up to ask what he'd done wrong, the tears were already coming. The teacher humiliated him for those tears, and afterward the other boys mocked him. "You've grown up and you still cry like a kid." He said even when he doesn't want to cry, the tears still come and fall. That's just how his body reacts. And somewhere in that story is the whole tragedy of being wired this way in a world that reads tears as weakness. It isn't that these people are weak, it's that they were punished for the one thing their nervous system couldn't help doing. But I want you to sit with the part almost nobody gets to. That release, the crying you've been ashamed of, may be your body taking care of you. Some research suggests emotional tears aren't chemically the same as the tears that just keep your eyes wet. They appear to carry higher levels of stress-related hormones, like cortisol, which means that when you cry, you may literally be flushing the biochemical residue of stress out of your body. That's the strange settling you feel afterward. The pressure lifting. Something finally unwinding. Think about what that means. You've been calling it falling apart. Your nervous system has been calling it maintenance. The one who cries when they need to isn't breaking down. They're the one whose release valve still works. A sealed pressure cooker is the dangerous one. You were never malfunctioning. You were regulating. This whole time. So where does that leave you? Not with a checklist. With a few things worth holding on to. The tears aren't the failure of your point. They're the proof of how much it mattered to you. The people worth talking to will learn to hear you through them, not around them. And you don't need a tougher filter. You spent years wishing you could toughen up, but the problem was never you. It was the room. Put the same wiring in the right one, and the thing you were mocked for becomes the thing that makes you rare. The person who notices, who feels it fully, who doesn't go numb when everyone else does. So many of you already know this somewhere deep down, that maybe crying was never the opposite of being strong. Maybe it's just proof you're still connected to your own humanity, while so many people around you have quietly gone numb inside. And if that's true, the question was never whether something's wrong with you. It's why nobody ever told you the truth about what your tears were actually doing. If any part of this felt uncomfortably close to home, tell me, which layer sounded the most like you? And if it changed the way you see your own tears, even a little, send it to someone who spent their whole life apologizing for theirs. That's how cognitive psychology keeps decoding the quiet mechanisms most people never stop to notice. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time.